Our guest speaker for tonight is Mr. George Lutz, who is the founder and executive director of Honor and Remember Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to perpetually recognizing the fallen military heroes and their families. Through the creation of the Honor and Remember flag, the organization's mission is to establish a public national symbol that recognizes with gratitude and respect the men and women who died in military service to America. Further goals include broad national awareness and education of the flag's meanings and importance to present personalized honor and remember flags to immediate families of our nation's fallen. George is the father of Corporal Tony Lutz, who was killed in Iraq in 2005 and who is the inspiration for the Honor and Remember flag. Please join me in welcoming George to our convention and to our veteran ceremony.
Jeff, I can't follow you so well, but I can pull this out and walk around. What an honor and privilege it is to be here tonight. I can't tell you how honored I am. And I'm going to get a little emotional because the one thing you'll find as I'm speaking to you is that this is not what I do, it's who I am. So, bear with me. Before, I want to thank the President, I want to thank the Ruritans for allowing me to be here. You're already a part of my family. I'm finding out more and more as I talk to you individually. So I'm here to just tell you a little bit about my journey and why that journey is so important, not only to me, but to each of you and to all of your families and to every citizen in America, honestly. Before I continue, I would like to find out, though, if there's anyone in this room who has lost a battle buddy, a friend, a family member. Would you please stand in war or in a service-connected incident? If you have, please stand. God bless you. Look around you. Thank you. Thank you. Would you honor them for their loss? We were going to give you roses. I blew them. You might have heard this statement before. There are only two defining forces willing to sacrifice their life for you. Jesus Christ for your soul and the American soldier for your freedom. Right? Well, that became very real to me when on December 29th of 2005, two uniformed soldiers knocked at my door and delivered 5 very simple words. We regret to inform you that my son, Tony, had been killed by a sniper in Fallujah, Iraq, on that day. When you hear those words, as a parent, there's no greater word that you could think of than devastation. Your life completely is upturned. I'm sure many of you in this room are parents, and hopefully you haven't lost a child or a spouse in any way at all, because I'll tell you, loss makes no difference, the way that you lose someone. But we're not supposed to bury our kids, are we? And I will tell you, when I heard those very simple words, I thought to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? How am I going to go forward? What is it that's left for me? Do I even want to live myself? I mean, these are very real things that grip you. I have 5 children. My son was married and had 2 children. He left a family. He was an amazing kid. But the journey that God put me on was pretty incredible. It's something I never expected. But one of the things I did as a father is I began to look for ways to hold on to memories, right? Because I knew he would never walk through that door again. I would never hear his voice. I would never see his face. So I began to look for everything I could that would remind me of him. Right? I went through drawers and closets. He was married, had his own life. He was 25 years old. And I was trying to find pictures and photographs and letters. You know, back then there wasn't a lot of what we have now in technology. And there was only so much you could find. There was a finite amount. And then I would go out to his friends and say, what do you remember? Give me something that would give me one more moment of life with him. And after I went through all of that process, I began to look out at America. And I thought, damn, he gave his life for everybody. How do they remember? How does America remember our nation's fall? And that began my search, because I wanted something to embrace. I wanted something I could hold on to that would give me comfort, that would bring me healing, anything. And the internet was around at that time, so I was able to do all kinds of searches. But you know, I found some wonderful things that we do as Americans to remember those that are deployed, those that are wounded, those that are back with us, right? Remember our troops, pray for our troops. Our troops are not with us during the holidays. Let's remember them. There's an empty chair at the table this year. It was great. Yellow ribbons. I put yellow ribbons around every tree in front of my house. I prayed that he would come home. But he didn't. And I thought, what do we do to remember those that don't come home? And what struck me, and I realized that what we do, it's logical, right? We remember on Memorial Day. Right? That's what we have, is a day to remember. Well, I'll tell you that I've done a lot of research on that. And between 50, there's a variation of percentages, between 50 and 80% of Americans do not know why we have Memorial Day. They don't even know what the day's for. Between 50 and 80%. So if that's the day that's set aside for all of us in the United States who remember our fallen, we're doing a pretty bad job. So we're not remembering, are we? And I will tell you that any family, any friend, and I didn't ask you who your relationship was, but please come to me and share your story afterwards. Memorial Day is not necessary. And I don't say that as some sacrilegious thing. I'm saying Memorial Day is every day. This is what families remember. They don't need a day to be reminded that their loved one is gone, do they? No. They need you to have a day to be reminded that their loved one is gone. That's what that day is for, not for them. And if we're doing a really bad job of remembering, then the one thing that is, to me, the most important, those who gave their lives, all gave some, but some gave all. They need to be remembered. When my son came to me and he said, hey, Dad, I joined the Army. He was a grown man, had children. I said, the first thing I said was, are you crazy? There's a war going on. We were just going into Iraq. And he said, Dad, the women and children of Iraq need our help. And I believe that I can make a difference. So what did I do? I gave him a big hug. I told him I loved him. I told him to keep his head down. What else can you do as a parent? And so in this search of finding out how America remembers, and literally finding nothing except the day. Now there are lots of one-offs, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about as a nation. What do we have as a nation that we all embrace in continuity? And one of the things that I did for my healing was I started to attend the funerals of other soldiers. Because I wanted to go to those families and say, I'm going through this too. If you need someone to talk to, please call me. I wanted to bring healing. And the more funerals I went to, unfortunately, I live in a Navy town, there are a lot of funerals, the more families I met. And the two things that I realized after talking to hundreds of families, and now I will tell you thousands of families, the two things that these families want is that their loved one has not died in vain and that they not be forgotten. That's it. Very simple. You can't give them money, you can't give them gifts. There's nothing you can give to a family that will salve that pain, which will continue for the rest of their lives, except those two things. But there's nothing I can do about the in vain part, because all you know, depending on your generation, there are many eras that could be considered political or why we're here. That to me makes no difference. Because I believe that as long as the U.S. flag flies above free soil and a free country, then no sacrifice will ever have been in vain. But the second one, not be forgotten. Well, it's already happening. We're forgotten. Right? Because if you look at the Memorial Day, we're remembering the heroes, or those of us who are remembering the heroes. But how many of us know that they have families attached to them? I mean, you don't know whether they're married or not, whether their parents are still alive, whether their parents are single or separated or together. There's so, whether they have children, whether they have brothers and sisters. We don't know that generally. And you may know one, but do you know two? Do you know 10? Do you know 1,000? No, we don't. Generally, we don't. But they're out there. They say that every fallen hero has a connection to 35 family members. 35 family members, that's an average. That's a lot of people affected by that one loss. One of the things that I noticed as I was attending the funerals was that there were flag lines, American flags. The Patriot Guard riders were very great at doing that, standing in flag lines. And very often they would be holding all American flags, and then I'd see a POW flag. And I'd go, oh, that's wonderful. I go, was he a POW? Was he missing? No, he wasn't. But it was a flag from that generation, a military flag, that associated with a soldier, right? And after the funeral, and seeing flags after flags, I realized that's what we're missing. We're missing in this country a flag for our fallen. A flag that recognizes those that gave their lives. If you think about it, we have flags for everything, right? We have our U.S. flag that embodies who we are. It means unity, diversity. All 50 states. It has a lot of meaning, right? But it doesn't mean anything specifically. It's just our country. It's who we are. But yet there's a star for every state on that flag. But that's not good enough, right? We still have to have a state flag for every state. Why? Because it's an identification of a geographic area. So we have an identification. And then we have a flag for every branch of the service. We have a branch for a flag for every college and university. Every general has their own flag. There is a flag for everything in this country, including where to hit your golf ball. Right? But there's never been a unified, specific symbol that says only one thing. Thank you. Thank you. And not to the heroes that have gone. Don't get me wrong on this. I mean, we need to acknowledge those heroes, but those families that are still with us, that have no idea whether you, or even care, even think about them, even give them any iota of time, right? They don't know. How do you communicate to families? How do you communicate to them all? As I said, you may know one, but do you know them all? And so on Memorial Day, where's Ron? On Memorial Day of 2008, I thought, what is the greatest gift that I can give these families is remembrance, is national remembrance. If we can create something and then educate people as to what this is and why it's important, couldn't we send a message to every generation a fallen family who is still with us today, just with a simple, iconic display. So on Memorial Day of '08, I unveiled what I believed would become our national symbol of remembrance. One of the most important flags, I think, other than our U.S. flag, that should be flying. Because without this flag and all the lives it represents in the history of our country, this flag's endorsed by the Sons of the American Revolution, by the way, and that was my hope and dream, that it would be embraced from the early beginnings of our country. But without this flag and the lives it represents, the United States flag can't fly. It's what the lives and the blood spilled are what holds that flag up. So very simple. American flag red, the blood spilled for our nation. The white field, the purity of that sacrifice, because each one of our men and women went into the fight, went into the service with a pure heart, saying to their families, don't worry, we've got it covered, we'll be back. Right? The blue star in the center goes back to World War I, when a blue solid star was hung on a banner on the windows and doors of families to let their neighbors know that they had family members in the fight, right? There could be 1, 2, 3, 4, however many blue solid stars on a banner in a window. That's to communicate to, right, to their neighbors. When that star was overlaid with a gold star, it meant that that loved one was not coming home. That's where we get the term Gold Star families. Gold Star wives, Gold Star fathers, Gold Star mothers. You've probably heard that term. If you haven't, you're hearing it now. The flag below, a folded flag, that was handed to each of the family members at the memorial of their loss. The way I like to say it is that this country was built on one folded flag at a time, because each one of those lives were not statistics, they were names and loved ones. Eternal flames. Ryan, you mentioned eternal flames. We have an eternal flame, John F. Kennedy. A symbol that we will never forget. And the words below, we will always honor their sacrifice and remember them individually by name. Over the past 14 years now, it has been my goal to make this one of the most recognizable symbols in America. Because it needs to be. It has been adopted as the official state symbol of remembrance in 26 states already. Over half the country recognizes this symbol as its state symbol of remembrance. South Carolina is one of those states. We have had 5 bills in Congress, 5 bills in Congress to make this a national symbol. We currently have a bill in Congress. But you know, it's more than just a simple dad grieving for the loss of his son and grieving for the loss of so many sons and daughters. It takes all of us, it takes everyone to know what this means, why it's important, why it exists, and why it really takes a grassroots effort to make this so important in this country today. There are a few things, I know my time's probably up, and we're going to do something very special here in a minute. Because this flag is not just about flying in the breeze on a flagpole, but it's about remembering them individually by name. And that is our goal, to make sure that no one is forgotten. And there's some things that you all can do. We have a booth back there when you leave if you want to talk to me. But I want to challenge you a little bit. Is that if you have a flagpole, put this flag on it. If you have a storefront, if you have some place to display this at your clubs, put this flag up. Thank you for that, because it is important to remember. It is the one thing that families cry out for. I can't tell you how many people came to me over this COVID time and said, hey, I know people are going through COVID, I know this is really horrible, but you know today is my son's birthday. Or today was his anniversary. Don't forget me. This is a way to make a statement, a silent statement that's louder than thunder. We are about to make a presentation of a flag. I'm going to step down and let Ron do that in a second, but I have nearly 400, when you see this happen, I have nearly 400 families waiting on a request list for flags to be presented like we're going to do tonight. Over 400 families, because of funding, we can't do it. They've been waiting, some for 2 years or more. But 400 flags, and I understand that your membership, there might be, what, 900? How many clubs are there?
It's about 900.
900
Just
flags.
short.
Can you imagine if 400 flags could be taken care of from 900 clubs, and we could wipe that waiting list completely out for these families? That would be an amazing, amazing thing. There's so many things that you can help with, but honestly, it's just letting you know it exists, the importance of it, and ask, what did Jeff say, right? In terms of where you see yourself. Can you see yourself making a difference and bringing healing into a community where you have a loved one whose loved one sacrificed all? And I'm going to leave you with this quote, and I'll take it from John F. Kennedy, since John F. Kennedy was mentioned, is that a nation reveals itself not only by the men that it produces, but by the men it honors and the men it remembers. God bless you. Thank you.